right, welcome back. In today's episode, we are going to look at a feature known as profile, implementing it right from the logic to the UI. However, we need a token from the login and have this token saved locally for future use. So let's create our class that will hold some of the locally required information. So in utils, here we can create a class we call it session manager. So class so we shall need a key to hold this token. So static const access token is equal to access token. Let's create a function that will save the token. So future of type void. We say save user token requires a string token. Being that it is a future, we say async, and we need a shared preference instance. So shared preference so we need a dependency for this. Flutter tab add shared references. We get, okay, here it is. We leave that. So here we say shared preferences, pref, going to be await. Preferences instance. So we say pref, we set. What are we setting? It is a string, right? So we set string with the key access token and the value received token. Then we shall need another function that is to give us the token. That's a future of type string, which is get, call it user token. Okay, it's async, and we'll copy this ref. We say return ref dot get string. The string key is access token. So what does this say? Make the return type nullable. Now, this is the obvious way, but we need to do it more professionally. So if we do it this way, first of all, the class, it means that every time we want to access something in this class, we are going to instantiate it, okay? But we can avoid that by creating an internal constructor for this class. And I've explained that before. So the internal constructor of this class is a session manager. Okay, the constructor is like that. But now the difference here, this is going to be with the dot. Let's go internal. Okay, so that is our internal constructor. So that means we cannot instantiate this anywhere. Okay, assuming one wants an instance of this class, we need a factory that will give us an instance of this class. Okay, so let's first create the instance of this class, and maybe we call it, let's say, static final session manager instance is equals to this. Okay, session manager give me the instance. Okay, so if someone calls this factory session manager, is going to get access to the instance, and so he can access what is inside here. That is one. Second is you realize shared preference. We are creating this instance everywhere and all time. So we can have a method which we say may be future of void, because we don't expect anything to be returned. And we call it init. Okay. And this method should initialize for us a shared preference. So what do? We create a global, not global as into the entire application, but global as to this file. Okay. To create a global instance, we can say shared preferences refs that can be null. Okay. Now this method, we want it to give us this preference ref is async here. So ref, but if null, it should create, okay, which is await shared preferences dot get instance. We just need to call await init. And it should give us, this is refs. So you remember now we need where to save this from. So when we are logging in here, we get some response and we have access to the token. So we can say session manager, we call the factory, session manager, that factor which gives us an instance, dot save user token, we pass token. Okay. So if token is null, then we don't save. So that means we say if token is not equal to null, then you save it there. Token interceptor here. So that means here the token is going to be session manager dot get access token. So it has to be await. But await in an async, they need to make this an async. Now, after login, if token is not null, let me try to print here. Good, I got the token as okay. So after login, we need to move to the dashboard and get the profile and load the user profile. So for the feature, let's create profile and we shall need data. We need logic, UI, domain, so in data, we shall have models, we shall have repositories, and in the domain, we shall have models, we shall have repositories, we shall have use cases, okay. We go to the pages, we go to the UI, we shall have pages, and widgets. Okay, so like we did for this auth feature, okay, we have the request, this, and this. What do we have in the domain? We didn't put anything. Logic, no, I mean for the login. Okay, so we go to these APIs. We check, we need this profile. So we got this client, we create that, it's a get. Here it is profile. And we call it profile. So what does it require? It requires nothing in the body. And what does it return? We don't know yet, so we call it dynamic. Okay. We need to auto-generate these missing files. There's a command in the readme. So in our profile, let's go to the domain. Under repositories, we'll create a file, call it profile repository. So it's an abstract class. And in this class, we need a feature of network response. So get profile, get user profile. All right. You can refer to the auth. Yes. So we now create in the repository of the data, we create the profile repository implementation class. So class profile repository it implements profile repository. Okay. And in here, we have a constructor. So we shall have API client. Let API client, meaning it's not yet initialized, but we initialize it in the constructor. So profile is in and its body is API client equals to API service dot API client. So there we have it. Now here is where magic is going to happen. We can say final response equals to, remember the response is dynamic, await API client dot get profile. What we do, we return network response. Let's wrap this in a try because we need the failure and so on. Try. Okay. If we end a try and all is well, we reach this part. So what do we do? Success is true. And so the data is the response. When we go this way in the catch, it means that we have failed. So network response, success is false, and error is equals to E dot is true. However, since we are using DO for the network call, there is a possibility of failing at the DO. So we say on DO exception patch A. So also here we return, but now here we can say final message is equals, we could have this. So here, profile, Cubit, and profile state. So we copy, not to waste time, the states, same similar, profile states. We call this profile state. Then profile, we'll call this initial, and it extends this profile state. For loading, we can say just loading state. Access, the same. And the response, we expect a profile, but the response is dynamic at the moment, so profile. And the props, put profile. So now we create a function to get the profile. If response is successful, then final response data is equals to response dot data got profile. Else got profile, and here we before else let's submit success. So needs profile, which is the response data, but it's dynamic. Else final error equals response dot error, and we emit error state, and the message is the error. Don't expect this state, but we put something wrong happened. So we need to register this Cubit and the repository in our app here. Well, we just add the repositories, so repository. And return the profile repository. Okay, and the qubits marked block here. We create another block provider. Here it has our context CTX. And here what we return is the profile qubit that the repository. So it is going to be CTX dot read. Okay, and we are reading this profile repository. After login, we go to a certain page, okay? And on that page, I think it's called home page. Here, in it, let's say context dot read. We read the qubit, profile qubit dot get profile. So we call to get the profile. Now let's log in and see. Yeah, let's analyze. auth me. This is the API. Method. Okay, there's a problem here. Access token is required. And this method is not a post, it's a get. So I check. Sorry, this should be a get. That means we are not sending a token when get up to this method. We need to see the header. Request header empty. So request header is empty. So let's begin with where we are saving the token from. Auth Cubit. Yeah. Are we really saving it? Let's go in here. We print token passed is so we are also learning to debug, and we should look for this. Yeah. So we have token passed is, so that means we are having the token. Okay. Now where we call get token here. Do we get here? No. Let's see if this method is being called. Print. You called this for token, and okay, you called this for token, but I need before it is returned. Let me now change something. I say final token equals and here we return token. So I want, before we return, I want to say call this for token. Let's go back. Okay, let's see if we have, we called this null. Okay, that's the point. The token is being saved, but the token is being null on getting. Here, we didn't put the equal sign. Let's try again. Okay, let's try. Emily's. Now let's see. Good. So now it's working fine. You see, response data that this auth, this, and the response data is this. For profile, we can create the model, and that is user profile response. No, let's just call it user profile. Let me copy paste the models. We have this. Okay, this is it. And to add this, JSON serializable. We copy this. Add, use, copy this. Now we have other models. So you see that here is also a particular model. Address is a model, bank is a model. So we create all these models, company. And the best thing is to assume they are nullable to avoid so many errors. So we remove required. It is always wise to do this. because the response, if you make it so tight, you may get so many errors when any slight change in the backend is performed. Okay. Let's get the hair model as well. After the hair, let's go to the address. And if I borrow from auth, do you have address? All right, there is no. So okay, I was putting these here. Let me move them the other side of the data. This is data from the API. Now let's go to address. Coordinates. So there is bank, company, and crypto. and crypto. Here, before we pass, we can say, okay, success should return a profile of type user profile. So in the Cubit, we say that user profile equals user profile dot from JSON, and the JSON data is the response data. So here we pass profile, and to emit, to test that, I can print got user as profile dot to JSON. Let's try that. We log in, enemies, and okay, so we got that. It's here. And this has, now that means it's a success. So that is it for today, and kindly subscribe to Code with Kamira as we proceed with our episodes. One thing you should note is that we are not after having features done, but after understanding the concepts. And in this episode, you've seen a lot of debugging concepts and maybe call it troubleshooting. Okay. We are doing what we would expect in the field or at the place of work. Thank you.